Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala.
All right, 7 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Nice looking Friday morning. I just happen to know that we have a lot of geeky people out there who love cool inventions and cool discoveries. And when you think about inventions, you often think about things with gears or electronics. An invention that we're going to tell you about right now, ultimately, well, it is created by high tech, I guess, technology, but the end product, I don't think is. It's like the surface of metal and maybe glass. I'm not even sure about the glass part of this. It is called hydrophobic laser technology, and in essence, and I'm speaking without even knowing what I'm saying here, the way I understood it is that a laser is used to etch into the surface of something, metal I'm sure of, but I'm not so sure about other things, etching into the surface in such a way that it makes the surface 100% water resistant. The water doesn't stick to it. It doesn't bounce off of it. If you're familiar with what's that stuff you put on your windshield called, Robin, again?
Oh, Rain-X.
Rain-X. If you put Rain-X on your windshield, you know how the water will bead up and just roll off. Well, this is unbelievable. I mean, the water just bounces off. We were watching some videos. Dan Martone introduced us to this technology and to our guest. We haven't actually spoken to him yet, but we've had a couple of email exchanges. And I hope I'm saying his name right. Chunlei Guo is on the phone. He's a professor of optics and physics at the Institute of Optics at the University of Rochester. And we're going to learn about this. It's called hydrophobic laser. Good morning, Chunlei. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Very good. Good morning.
So first, how did I do on your name? I need to know how to pronounce your name.
Oh, you're doing very well.
Oh, good.
Yes.
And are you in Rochester, New York? Is that where you are?
That's right. Upstate New York.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this technology something you created?
Yes. So hydrophobic surface is essentially a surface that repels water, and the water will not be able to stick on the surface. And simply, if you drop water on the surface, water will roll off or bounce off. So what we did, compare, for example, you mentioned Rain-X, and that's a chemical coating. You apply a layer of chemical materials on the surface, but in the long term, the coating typically will wear off and degrade. And the surface we created is directly using a laser technology. We use laser beam. Etch, I would say, create a certain surface structure at nano and micro scales. And those structures actually render this hydrophobicity and repel water.
Were you surprised at this, or did you know, like when you started etching into the surface of whatever the first thing was, did you say to yourself, I'm going to do this so that it repels water, or was it one of those accidental discoveries?
Well, leading to this discovery, actually, we already had a number of, a range of laser surface processing technologies. And for this particular one, it's sort of naturally we were working towards creating this hydrophobicity. The reason for that is about a few years ago, and we created a counterpart technology that is hydrophilic. So hydrophilic means a surface likes water, and it just totally in opposite to the hydrophobicity we were talking about here. So hydrophilic surface, so if I were able to demonstrate our hydrophilic surface, you see if I stand the surface, for instance, on top of a table, and then if I drop water at the bottom of the surface, the water actually will run uphill against the gravity on the treated surface. So the surface really likes water, have a very strong attraction to the water. The water actually literally just stick to the surface, even run uphill against the gravity. So after that technology, we know we wanted to create a counterpart technology that is repels water. So we have been working towards that goal. Eventually, just made it happen.
Okay, I have a question that comes from when I was a kid. Believe it or not, I was in the swimming pool, and there was a spider walking on the water. And my brothers and I were watching it, and my brother, being older than me, he said, "You know how he can do that? It's because the water has some tension or something, right? And so his little tiny little legs aren't strong enough to push through the tension, whatever it is, of the water."
Viscosity?
Right.
Maybe viscosity, is that the word? And if you put a drop of soap onto the surface of the water, that spider wouldn't be able to walk there anymore because it would reduce the whatever. Okay?
Right.
So, would soapy water be repelled by the surfaces that you create with the laser?
That's a very interesting question. We have not tested yet. I'll be happy to go.
Oh, I gave you a test.
Oh,
I didn't know that I was doing that. Oh, really? Well,
that's pretty amazing.
But we have not tested soapy water, but on the other hand, oil, for instance, is quite different from water.
Does oil stick to it?
So we had some preliminary success to repel oil as well.
Okay. Well,
and so I suspect the surface will repel the soapy water as well.
Okay. Maybe the reason I thought of this as a question is and I'm sorry I didn't include that in the question. We gave you some questions. I don't even know if we asked any of the questions yet that I said I was going to ask, but I've been thinking about this.
No,
it's very. Yeah. When I was thinking about why this works, I was trying to figure out in my mind why this works, and I was thinking, well, maybe the surface is broken down into tiny little microscopic pieces like the legs of a spider, and that's why it causes it to repel. Am I on the right track?
I think the way you should think about this is, typically water. If you really zoom in and put the water underneath high-power microscope, for instance, water consists of molecules, right? And the water molecules, they are attracted to each other, and they have some attraction force, and they tend to glue together, bond together. And so that additional thing, the spider leg you mentioned, probably because spider is very light, the force is exerted onto the water surface is not going to cause the water molecules break apart from themselves. Therefore, the water is still glued together, and the molecules still attract to each other, and so and therefore the spider can walk on the surface. And that's how you think about this. Similar thing for our surface, and because the surface will eventually have very little interaction, very little attraction force towards the water molecules. Therefore, the water molecules still will bond to themselves and then bead up and roll off.
Do you have any applications for this that you can share with us? Is it so? One of the things Dan said was that it might be useful on the wings of an airplane to make sure that the plane would never have ice forming on it, because if water can't settle on it, then there wouldn't be any ice.
Right. Yep. Yeah, that's certainly an application. It's actually an important application.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like you said, if water does not stick on the surface in the first place, of course, ice will not be able to form. And besides that, also think about corrosion, rust, formation on metal surface.
Oh yeah, right.
So
right.
yep, if they have this hydrophobic surface,
Okay.
it repels water. It will prevent the rot and corrosion happening from the first place. And also think about you have all these ships and boats and traveling in the water, in the ocean. So if you can reduce the water contact, will also reduce the friction.
Oh
of the
wow!
water.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
Gosh.
and then everything will travel faster and more efficient in the water. And but last but not the least is also all the viruses and bacteria. They are just like human beings. They consist of water, actually majority of water. And so if it can have the surface repel the water, and we can prevent the virus and bacterial growth.
Oh wow!
And, therefore, there will be sanitation application as well.
Will this help with the fish habitats? Because sometimes the Navy will sink the ships on reefs and try to make a fake reef so the fish can survive. Will there be any use for this in that aspect?
Can you repeat what exactly
When
example you mentioned?
sometimes when the Navy retires ships, they will sink them to make an artificial reef so they can attract more fish and marine life to have a nice habitat. Would this be able to help that habitat along in any way? This process?
I'm not sure it will help. I think they might utilizing the surface that fish or habitat like to stick on the surface. It might be opposite, and so our surface. But on the other hand, as I mentioned, we have two surfaces, and we have hydrophobic, and we also have a hydrophilic surface. And the hydrophilic surface will attract water and help the cell growth on the surface. Perhaps the other surface can help the habitat.
Oh, that is so fascinating. I love this.
Does the surface that has been treated, I guess this is the best way to ask this, have a coarseness to it? If I touched it, would it feel like a file, like a fingernail file or something?
No, it's the structures are all at micro and nano scales. You'll not be able to feel it, and when you touch it, it just still feels very smooth.
Okay, so would it be since there are actually the little this is one of the questions I sent you. Could there be?
Oh, I don't have any question list.
Oh, nobody sent you any questions? Okay.
No.
Okay. Micro debris, like little tiny pieces of dirt, could they get stuck in the little openings, and therefore could it compromise the effectiveness of the surface after some time?
So the structures are very, very tiny. They are micro, nano scales. I'm not sure the debris you're thinking, what's the scale are they?
Okay.
Typically most of the debris, they're much larger in scale, so they will not be able to block the surface structures. And so I don't anticipate that should be an issue.
Okay.
Oh, you talk about the slipperiness of this surface as compared to Teflon. Is that where you started out in your experimentation from the Teflon surface, and then you worked from there?
Well, we actually worked on metals, and we actually also worked on Teflon. So Teflon already has a certain hydrophobicity, and so we in the video we made a demonstration in comparison Teflon and our hydrophobic metal surface, and the difference is if you put a water droplet on a Teflon surface, for instance, your regular non-stick cooking pan, you have to tilt your surface about 70 degrees for the water to roll off. And in comparison, our surface, you just need a couple of degrees, the water will roll off right away.
Yeah.
And so when we start working on this, we actually started with metals. And but on the other hand, we also did this on Teflons, and obviously it will make it more hydrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
This is fascinating. I want to be sure the listeners know what we're talking about, and I want to be sure they can go to a website to see the videos, because that's what helped me understand what this is. But we need to take a little break. Chunlei Guo is on the phone. It's such an honor to have you, sir. Chunlei is a professor of optics and physics at the Institute of Optics at the University of Rochester in Rochester, New York. He has invented a way to etch, if you will, into the surface of metal. I didn't even ask about glass yet, but I'm going to do that after the break, to make it virtually impossible for water to stick to it, which there's so many great, and the whole use in boats, I never even thought of that, but it would clearly make it easier for airplanes to be resistant to having water settle on their wings, and therefore ice would be preventable. We'll take a little break and we'll be right back. Don't go away.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. Sunshine mixing with clouds this Friday, high 84 to 88. Then partly cloudy skies Friday night. There can be a shower or thunderstorm in spots near the coast during the evening hours. The low 65 inland, 71 along the coast. For Saturday, partly sunny, warm and humid with a shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon, high 85 to 89. Sunday, partly sunny with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm in the afternoon, high 87 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
We're saving thousands with Robert Palmer.
So rule number one is always shop around. Always shop around. If you're trying to get a mortgage, if you're trying to get the best credit card, if you're looking at student loans, cell phone bills, you name it, rule number one is always shop around. Always shop around.
That's rule number one, just one more vital part of fighting back to stop being a financial zombie. Yes, you can take the mystery out of the complicated world of finances. Take charge when it comes to your money. Listen in on The Source, 96.3 FM and 1370 AM, Saturdays at 12:05.
We all know the importance of good health, but we may not know the latest advances in medicine that are available to us. Monday at 9 a.m., Bern Paraiso will be our roving medical reporter to tell us about Seven Hill Gastroenterology PA and Dr. Reddy. We'll discuss screening, techniques, and more. So tune in and listen. This is more than news you can use. It's news that could save your life. That's Monday at 9:05 a.m.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Hey, this is Dan. Let me ask you a few questions. Does your boat look better with the cover on? Has your car's interior seen its better days? Stop using a towel to cover up those rips in the golf cart. Isn't it about time you had it restored to better than new with a custom upholstery from Captain T? Captain T's Upholstery has been right here in Ocala for nearly 20 years, so they know how to make your ride one of a kind. Whether you want to take that classic ride back to a factory look or put your favorite sports team front and center, Captain T's Upholstery is who to call. 352-369-1810. That's 352-369-1810. Or stop by their location, 5030 South Pine Avenue in Ocala, just past the drive-in. And of course, don't forget to visit them on the web, CaptainTUpholstery.com.
The very best in quality is Captain T's Upholstery.
Keep up with what's going on in the downtown area with Ocala Downtown Newspaper. Delivering thousands of newspapers to businesses in the downtown area, Ocala Downtown is there to keep you informed. They even have Tom's Picks, a free referral for people who are looking for a company to do work for them. Tom's Picks will refer the company that fits your needs, and all we ask in return is that you tell them where you heard about it. It's simple. For more info, just call Tom's Picks, 352-804-1223, and pick up your copy of the Downtown Ocala newspaper today.
Now read Ocala Downtown newspaper online.
All right, 26 minutes after 11 o'clock, and gosh, I'm so interested in this topic that I hope I didn't ask dumb questions. I hope hopefully some of you get what this is about. Chunlei, thank you for being on the air with us today. I wanted to ask you about glass real quickly. Can you etch into glass?
We are currently so we have not really done too much work on glass. Well, etching to glass certainly we can use the laser to produce structures on glass. And in terms of make it hydrophobic, we have not done this yet. However, on the other hand, as I mentioned earlier, we also had a counterpart technology that is a hydrophilic surface. We had turned a glass surface hydrophilic before and make it attract water and make it be able to weak the water. So we'll look into if we can turn the glass surface hydrophobic.
Mm-hmm. And the reason I was asking is because if this was applicable to windshields,
right.
would it change would it compromise your vision? Would you be able to see through it as clearly as normal glass?
So that's a very good question. One thing you can do is, because the optical technique, you can create all these powerful new technologies. And one thing you can do is you can create a certain surface structures. Those structures will help help the light transmission as well. And so I think the path forward will be create a certain structure that will not only repel water, but also will help the light transmission. So you will not compromise the light transmission while creating this water repellent surface.
If you can look into the future a little bit, when this is commonplace, what will we be calling the surface? Will we be calling it hydrophobic laser? Because that implies that there's a laser, or will we call this? Will we call the surface, the Chunlei surface? What would we call? What will we call it?
I certainly welcome to call my name surface. Yeah. But I think you'll be called hydrophobic, high transparent, high clearness surface. I assume.
I don't want to leave the listeners without a way to look this up. So what would you suggest? How can they see the? I saw a video, and I don't know if Dan took me to YouTube or where he did. But just give us a way we can see this or learn more about this.
Sure. Yeah. There are a number of ways. I think if you, use my name as a search keyword, you should be able to pull up a lot of information.
Okay.
The listeners certainly are welcome to visit my group website that is hosted at the Institute of Optics at University of Rochester. And I guess the easiest way is just Google my name, Chunlei.
Okay.
And my group website will come up. And on the website, and there should be some videos. And one is a video showing the hydrophobic materials, the surface in action. The other video may be helpful to seeing me explain this is a TEDx talk I gave recently explaining our surface technology. Including the hydrophobic surface and the hydrophilic surface I mentioned, and also including even before these technologies, we also work on the surface that interacting with light in a more unique way. For instance, we create a metal surface that can absorb light 100%. It's render a shiny piece of metal pitch black, and so we call that the black metal. We also make a surface to appear to a certain color. We call that the color metal. And we also have a technology we can increase through the surface texturing on a incandescent light bulb filament. We can turn a constant light bulb much brighter. And so some of those technologies, you'll be able to find more information on my website, and also on the TEDx talk I give, which is also online on my website. Of course, you can also find this on YouTube, on a number of other sources as well.
Wow, I'm going to have to look at that myself. I'm fascinated by this. Let me, for the listeners, spell your name, if you don't mind. Chunlei, right?
Yes.
And then Guo is Guo, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and actually, Robin does have a website on the on WOCA.com. If you go there and look at the guest list, you'll see optics.rochester.edu/workgroups/GUO, and Robin, check that out, and that does take you to some of the sites as well. Chunlei, thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy, and it's such an honor to have you on the show. And congratulations on coming up with something absolutely new and probably will save lives. It'll probably save lives.
Oh, thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure.
We will take a little break, and we will be right back.
You can't put it off any longer. It's time to replace your home's AC system.
The answer is ACEsolvesItAll.com and an exceptionally efficient AC system. Let the pros at A show you how you can save on energy monthly and give your family added comfort. The great thing is that ACEsolvesItAll.com is on call 7 to 7, 7 days a week at no extra charge.
For a limited time, mention WOCA and get a special discount.
Call 877-765-4ACE or ACEsolvesItAll.com.
Here are today's headlines from The Source. WOCA. SpaceX scrubbed yesterday's launch of a Falcon 9 rocket out of an abundance of caution, according to a statement issued by NASA. The rocket was supposed to launch when the 2-hour launch window opened at 5:40 p.m., but the launch immediately went into a delay. SpaceX announced around 6:45 p.m. yesterday that the launch was postponed until no earlier than today for additional data review. In a tweet from SpaceX's verified account, the space agency said Falcon 9 and the spacecraft remain healthy. Elon Musk, CEO of SpaceX, said there was a tiny glitch in the motion of an upper stage engine actuator. He said, quote, probably not a flight risk, but still worth investigating. SpaceX will again try to launch and land a Falcon 9 rocket from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station today. The 2-hour launch window opens at 5:39 p.m. The rocket is carrying a Thaicom 8 commercial communications satellite into orbit. Thaicom is one of Asia's leading satellite operators, and the satellite will provide broadcast and data services for Thailand, Southeast Asia, India, and Africa. A Wildwood convicted sex offender was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for having firearms and ammunition as a convicted felon. According to a plea agreement, Larry Garfield Letterman, 63 years old, met with an informant 2 times.